How's it going, everybody? Well, I figured this was kind of interesting, mainly because it's kind of sentimental for me. My grandfather always had Grand Marquis. Actually, he had a 2001 Grand Marquis that looked just like this. It was blue, it had every option. In fact, it was fully loaded from the factory, except he hated leather seats so much that he had them take out the leather seats of that vehicle and put it into a lower class vehicle and get the cloth seats because that's what he wants. So it had leather steering wheel, it had leather, I think other trim pieces from what I recall. Can't quite remember, but the leather seats, he had them totally switch the seats out. That was the selling factor to buy it, even though he got it on a Z plan pricing because he was a former Ford employee, a retiree. So Z plan technically A is the same, no difference. So same discount. But yeah, the dealer did that, and I'm sure somebody loved getting a more base model Grand Marquis that had leather seats in it, right? Like, this is kind of weird, but that's what the dealer did to make the sale. And this was in Michigan, by the way. And this is just a funny little write up. Somebody has a 2000 Mercury Grand Marquis with 20 original miles up for sale. Man, I remember that green dash. I remember when they had it. A little story is I actually drove the vehicle for them from Michigan to Arizona because they were going there for the winter, like a lot of people, a lot of Michiganders, snowbirds. They went somewhere in the winter. That's where they would go for the last few years that I knew, and they wanted their vehicle. They flew. I drove the vehicle out with like all their extra clothes and stuff they would need for the 4, 5, 6 months. It was a long time that they were going to be there, and then I flew. They had me fly back out, and I drove it back across country to Michigan. It was pretty cool. I got a little trip out of it. I was young. I had the time. It was fun. I have a crazy story going through Texas, but maybe I'll save that for the end of the video. Um, Here we have, there have been many vehicles throughout history that have been purchased and stowed away for decades. Now, no, this is not a classic vehicle. I wouldn't say somebody would say, oh, Grand Marquis, that's something that's collectible. I personally don't see it. But, anyways, in the attempt to make a profit. However, these vehicles are usually models like an early Ford Bronco or Ford Mustang, not something like this 2000 Mercury Grand Marquis. Now, you got to be wondering, they're storing it away, right? Or it's an old person, maybe they inherited it or something. But and this is in Canada, by the way, it was never driven. It's not really a collectible. It's neat. It brings back memories to me, and we'll see the price later. I don't think it's worth it. And when you bought these vehicles, I think, if I recall right, I want to say my grandparents fully loaded Grand Marquis that they paid, even with AZ plan pricing at the time. It was the most expensive Grand Marquis yet they had purchased. And they always paid cash. I believe it was like 28, 29,000 even on employee pricing. So it was probably like a $35,000 car. So they're not making a profit on this at all with the low kilometers on it, which is like 20 miles. So it has 20 miles showing on the odometer. Now note this is an electronic odometer gauge cluster. These things could be rolled back. I find it hard to believe that somebody sat on this with 20 miles. They definitely didn't do it to make a profit. So did they inherit it? Did somebody die? And that old person they bought it and then maybe for medical reasons didn't drive, so it just sat in the garage? That could be. It's hard to say if this lowest mile 2000 Mercury Grand Marquis in existence, but if we were the betting types, well, yeah, certainly it is. If that's the real mileage there, as much this veritable time capsule looks like a brand new example one might have come across on a dealer lot 2+ decades ago, and it's selling for some exorbitant price either. And it isn't selling for, well, I don't know. I think $4,300 US is a crazy price, because that's not too far off from the new price at the time. And I'm not 100% sure if this is 100% loaded. I'm going by looks, I'm going by the gauge. That does not, I can't tell if that's actually leather. It might be a leather wrap steering wheel. But like I said, my sign looks slightly different in here. I think they had more chrome or something. Sign slightly looks different. Like I said, theirs was fully loaded, and being fully loaded, it had leather seats that they had the dealer take out. Now, I don't know. Something tells me this isn't the best picture, but that floor mat looks a little bit wear. I didn't notice that before. It looks like it has some wear to it for 20 miles. I mean, this thing should be like brand new, Or what people maybe the guy just sat in it. Who knows? But yeah, the seats look good though, from what we can see. Steering wheel is hard to tell. Was it just a embroidery type spot, or I thought there was like an actual emblem there. I can't remember. Thought there was an emblem, maybe not. It's been so long. The seller doesn't provide many details about this Immaculate sedan, other than noting that it has never been driven in the rain or snow. Well, 20 miles, it has never been driven. You would just say, this has never been driven, although we're taking this right up, so we don't really know what the seller said. Heck, it hasn't even been driven much in any weather. Okay, yes, we know that. The Grand Marquis has also been stored rather carefully, judging by its impeccable condition, as there are no obvious flaws that we can spot in the provided photos. Yeah, I mean, I would say that engine bay definitely either has been very well cleaned, but yet you have perfectly the markings on the case there, on the cover. I would say it is a low mileage vehicle. You get the marking there, or somebody went through a heck of a lot of trouble to make this look like a very mint condition, but probably not. Like I said, probably somebody died after buying it, or after buying it got sick and it just sat in the garage, or they died and grandma couldn't get rid of it. It could be roles reversed too. It could be, but typically it was the guy buying these large sedans like my grandfather did, and that wasn't my grandmother's first choice. I mean, she ended up getting a Ford Taurus, so we traded that in on a Ford Taurus when my grandfather passed away. So, and there was nothing wrong with the Grand Marquis. It's just it was a big vehicle for her to drive, and she didn't need all that car. But it says everything works perfectly, including the digital gauge cluster. Pop the hood. It's immediately evident that the engine bay belongs to a low mileage vehicle. Yeah, I would agree from what we're seeing here. The seller notes that this big Mercury has no leaks and the undercarriage supports that. Well, it's only been 20 miles, so they haven't used it. So yeah, it's not pouring out. But you start using this vehicle, from my understanding, and I'm no expert in automobiles, just from videos I've watched and from years of experience, being 45 years old, that this vehicle, you're going to start using it and it's going to leak because seals have dried out. The vehicle hasn't been run. These tires, if original, need replaced. Various seals are going to have issues. Who knows what's going to have issues? Who knows if you're going to be able to, if there was any recalls during the time. It probably hasn't gone through them because it only has 20 miles. And there might have been some. Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that. It does have the keyless entry. I remember that. But yeah, and it doesn't really say if it's an LS or GS either. That would tell us the trim level. Yeah, but they act like because it's not dripping underneath and it's clean underneath, that means something. Well, it's been sitting. Was it sitting for 20 years with that same fuel in the tank? I'm guessing it was. If it was sitting not 20 years, longer than that, 21 years, excuse me. If it was sitting for 21 years, almost going on 22 years, because it was maybe even slightly longer, because it was probably made in 1999, and sold as a 2000. So he's been sitting 21, 22 years with the same fuel in the tank because I only drove 20 miles. Did it have a full tank? Did that gas go? How did this get outside? Did it start? There's no video. No video? I'm going to say you're going to need to do a lot of work to this vehicle. You're probably going to develop leaks. You're going to have to drain the fuel system. Hopefully nothing tarnished within the fuel system. And that all comes out. You don't have to get a new fuel pump because it's been sitting in gas that has turned. That's 22 years old. There's a lot of unanswered questions here. I do not think this vehicle is worth the $23,300. I looked it up on Kelly's Blue Book, and I gave it 50 miles because it just felt weird. And I said it was an LS. I'm not sure if this is an LS even, which is the higher trim level, in whether it had the best radio, stereo system. And I want to say I see a tape deck. I don't know, a CD. My grandparents had a CD, and they also had dual climate control and everything else. We can't see what this has. I do see it has the passenger power seat right there. That's where they put it then. That was a nice convenient spot. I like that. Vehicles should bring that back. That was a perfect spot versus on the side of the seat where you can't see it. And yeah, so what I was saying, I got distracted there looking at the picture, really. And so we don't know. I gave benefit of the doubt that it was an LS, that was loaded, that had premium sound. And Kelly's Blue Book said private party sale was like 6,300, something like that, 6,800. I don't know, something like that. So well, let's just say 7,000. I would consider, if this is a mint condition vehicle, given 7,000. You figure you're probably gonna have to put another 5 into it, but a vehicle from that time, maybe even more, because I don't know about shocks. Do shocks over time, the seals on them, just from sitting, they might start leaking really quick. Yeah, it might look good right now, but so yeah, you might put easily $5,000-$6,000 into this, but for the right price, it would be worth it because it's basically a brand new vehicle. These vehicles do tend to last, so once you got it, everything that needed to be fixed, any seals that went out, you replaced, and just kind of went through and overhauled it. Depending on the fuel system, that might need to be overhauled. The right price, it might be the right vehicle for somebody. And look, it does say full tank of gas. Is that the original fuel? I mean, we don't know enough about this. It's crazy. But $23,300, somebody's smoking pretty good. It's not a collectible. I don't know. What do you all think? Would you pay that for, assuming this is the top trim level with only 20 miles on it? Would you pay $23,300? You're gonna have to put some money into it. So let's say at the end of the day you put 6 into it, so you're getting close to $30,000. That's a lot of money for something that is not a collectible and you're just going to use. But if you could pick this up for like 6,000-7,000, put 5 into it, 6,000 into it, yeah, okay, I could see that. I mean, around $15,000. This is a very nice vehicle. Very nice. Would last somebody, being so new. Once you've got everything fixed in it, that's going to probably go. Yeah, it's a 2000. This is 2022 just about. So, yeah, you might get 20 years out of the vehicle. You could be driving pretty much an old vehicle that people are going to be like, "Wow, that looks really new," And we'd be in like 2030. Imagine that, driving this, people will be like, "Wow, that looks really mint," especially if you're a person that takes care of their vehicles. It would be kind of cool. And they're good vehicles, and they're good land yachts. They're great for going across country like I did. Now that story, I'll tell it nowadays because why not? It's been so long, and I was young at the time in my early 20s. But grandparents had it loaded up, the trunk loaded up. As you know, you can fit a couple bodies in that trunk. That's a huge trunk. So I'm driving across. I'm hauling butt from Michigan to Arizona, Tucson. And I'm cruising like at 80, 90, 100. It was limited to 110. But I was cruising those speeds I went through rain. I went through snow early on, rain. Get to Texas, and this is all in the same day. It was a long day, even at those speeds. A long day. I get to Texas, and I'm getting tired and sleepy, and I had people flash. I was like, I must be drifting over the line. I was like slapping myself, stay awake. I'm in my 20s. I'm invincible, man. But I got off. I got a hotel, fell asleep, woke up 5 hours later because I had driven until like 1 in the morning. Woke up 5 hours later, got on the road. I'm in Texas, and the just outside of Amarillo. I'm in the rural area. I started taking some like off the interstate, some smaller roads, and I haul butt 100 miles an hour up to this vehicle up ahead, and then it dawned on me, oh my god, that's a cop. As I got closer, and of course he's there, so I'm slowing down, and I'm like, oh no, no, I'm gonna get pulled over. I'm gonna get pulled over, and this cop who's in front of me just pulls off to the side of the road. I keep going, and he doesn't bat an eye. I just, I don't know why I did this. I went back up to 90. He never chased me, never turned on the lights, never anything. Maybe he was coming out of his jurisdiction or something. I don't know. Or young guy in a brand new, because at the time it was a 2001, brand new Grand Marquis, kind of a nice car, clean cut young kid, flat top and stuff, and I'm hauling butt. Maybe he thought I was military, government, or something. Because I got asked that a bunch on that trip when I would pull in a gas station, especially out west there. I would get asked, like, hey, are you with the federal government? And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, no, that's my grandparents' car. I'm taking it to them or I'm bringing it back. Yeah, I got asked that quite a bit. But that's my little story. I'm to this day don't know why that cop didn't pull me over. It was obvious I was speeding, going 100 and just hauling up to this car, have slow down because they're in my way. And then I like, this is a cop, oh no, I'm panicking, and he gets over, and I'm thinking he's gonna pull me over. Nope, didn't pull me over. So, anyways, that's my little story of a Grand Marquis that looked just like the same blue interior. It was amazing. Everything was blue. Thought it was so cool though. I thought the dash was so cool. It was so crisp, clear, easy to see. I really liked it, and it still had you still had the physical buttons to like reset stuff, and yeah, it was a nice car. Ford did a good job. Unfortunately, people don't want these big cars anymore. I mean, I personally would look at them and maybe buy one if they still made a Grand Marquis or a Lincoln Town Car. Yeah, definitely, or Crown Vic even, which was basically Grand Marquis less trim. Anyways, hopefully you like this little video. Have a good one. Stay well, stay safe, my friends. Take care.